Hello and welcome to the show with me, Jillian. So today my guest is Marsel Adwai, who is the CEO of OptionRoom. Marsel, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Jillian. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm delighted. So tell me a little bit about yourself, please, before we talk about your project, your company.
Okay, I graduated from Birzeit University from Palestine as a computer science major and a business management minor. And I developed interest in cryptocurrencies in 2017, about September, when I first acquired my first Bitcoins. And initially I started trading as most of the people in the space. And I wasn't really good at trading. So in the first 2 months, I lost most of my capital. And
that's not
then
good.
I started.
That's definitely not good.
No, it wasn't good. And it was quite discouraging, to be honest. So I started to look more into the crypto space and what projects do, because what I realized was that I was more trading just on instinct, on trader instinct, and I wasn't really looking into what I was trading. So I learned more about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and how the blockchain works, and it was really fascinating. And that was the first thing that drove me to seek a career in cryptocurrencies.
In development, and of course not in trading, which makes a
Not
lot
in
more
trading.
sense given your background. So
Yeah,
we're here
exactly.
to talk about your project. OptionRoom is a decentralized forecasting portal where users speculate on the outcome of real-world events. Can you explain how it works, please? Maybe give some examples.
Yes, sure. Okay, so forecast markets are basically a financial instrument that is used to trade the outcomes of future events. So let's take, for example, the recent US election. So the idea is a market is created for the US election, for example. So it's Trump versus Biden. And people can just buy the yes and no outcomes. Or, for example, you want to buy the outcome of Biden winning the election or Trump winning the election. And the users who forecast the event correctly, they get rewarded. And the ones who don't, they lose their investment, basically.
Okay, so quite straightforward. And
yes,
also, I think the history of forecasting is that oftentimes the median, I'm learning this when I was doing some research, can be as accurate when you have large enough volumes.
Yes.
Explain a bit of that. That's a really interesting thing.
Ox median weight story. Okay, so it's actually an interesting story. It happened in the early 1900s. And the idea was that in a county fair, people were able to purchase tickets to guess the weight of a slaughtered ox, and whoever was closest wins the pot of money collected by selling tickets. And the fascinating observation was that the median answer of all the people who participated was accurate within 1% of the actual ox weight, which speaks to the wisdom of the crowd. And the idea that, yes. So basically the idea is if a lot of people are trying to observe a certain phenomena, they can be accurate to a high percentage just because of this crowd wisdom effect.
So that's forecasting. How do you use oracles on the platform?
Okay, so as you know, Jillian, the blockchain is a closed network of computers, and usually, and the security of the blockchain comes from the idea that it's a closed system. So basically, it only deals with inputs and outputs from inside the network itself. And at some point for this, for this technology to develop further, you need it to speak to the outside world. You need to get data from outside of this closed system and process it in order to provide more services than just transfer of value. And that's where the idea of oracles came from. So basically, oracles are entities that bring information from the real world into the blockchain. So it could be price data, weather data, any other type of data that needs to be accessed from the blockchain.
You also deal, I understand, that with complex data sets. So it's not just a binary yes or no. How does that work?
The idea is not here. So what the OptionRoom oracle offers, different from all the oracles that exist right now, is we can deal with qualitative data. And the idea is that we don't use outside data sources such as databases and other APIs to acquire our data. We source it from people directly. So you can call it governance as an oracle. That's the main idea. And the added value here is that people can analyze data beyond what machines can right now. Even though machines are faster and more accurate, but if you need to access some type of data, for example, for insurance arbitration, you can't automate that yet. So what we do is we can allow other projects to request data from us that will be sourced by our governance.
And actually, I was going to ask you, so how does the governance work, the consensus governance in the OptionRoom? How does that work? Explain a bit about that, please.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so OptionRoom has two token. We had adopted the two token model. So we have the utility token, which is the room token, and we have the court token as the governance token. And the court token has very limited supply, about 45,000 tokens. And the idea behind it is you need to stake your court tokens in order to receive voting power in our governance. And that voting power gives you a bigger weight in votes. So you stake your court tokens, and once you have voting power, you can use it to vote on different, for example, governance proposals, for market resolutions, and for the Oracle requests.
So how important is the community going to be in OptionRoom then? Very important by the sounds of things.
Yes, OptionRoom is a very community-oriented project, because the main idea is to get the community engaged in voting and using the platform in order for it to work.
I think we've talked before, and we said also when you invest money in the outcome of when you're forecasting the voting,
yes,
explain that about the skin in the game, how that impacts people.
Okay, so it was a few months ago, Vitalik posted an article regarding forecast markets and the role they play in politics and in just predicting outcomes of events. And the idea was that, as we talked about the median ox weight phenomena, when you add financial incentive to this equation, you get far more accurate results than when you're just trying to guess something. So, for example, if we were football fans and I asked you about the outcome of a football match that's happening in a week or so, if we just were talking about it and I asked you, like, who do you think will win, you were going to pick the team that you prefer to win. But if, for example, I tell you I'll give you $100 if the team that you chose win, you're going to put a little bit more effort, more analysis into it. So basically, that's the main idea. And if you apply the wisdom of the crowd to this, then you have a far more strong effect.
Perfect.
And a far more accurate result from that.
Yeah, excellent. So how important is it that the platform is decentralized?
The idea of decentralization came with the creation of Bitcoin. And I personally am a true believer in decentralization and the idea that whatever you do on our platform can't be controlled or stopped. So it's just a protocol processing what inputs it gets. And we stand by that.
Okay. So then quadratic voting, is that being used on the platform? Can you explain what it is and how it's been used?
Okay, so we have not yet incorporated the quadratic
voting.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have not yet incorporated quadratic voting into the OptionRoom Oracle. We're still in the final phases of testing the Oracle before launching it. But the idea of quadratic voting is that you use multiple inputs for the same question. So for example, if you have a questionnaire and you have not just yes and no to a question. So it's more like starts from strongly disagree to strongly agree and whatever's in between. And the idea is it gives you more range of answers that you can use. And yeah, this is something we're looking to incorporate in the OptionRoom Oracle, given that we're also planning to use the Oracle as a survey tool in the future.
Okay. So tell me, whereabouts are you then on your roadmap? Where are you?
Yeah, so currently we're in the beta phase of our markets, and we are releasing the version 3 of the market beta this Friday. And hopefully the mainnet is coming soon, given that we get enough good feedback on the state of the current market. And in this quarter, we're also going to release the Oracle as a service.
You faced a big problem there, not of your making, of the hack that impacted you. Tell me a little bit about that, what it did to your project and how you recovered from it. Okay,
so about 3 months ago, a service that we were using got hacked. It's called ChainSwap. It was a project that allows you to transfer tokens between blockchains. And the hacker got around $800,000 worth of Room tokens through that protocol hack. And we had to act fast. And as a firm believer in decentralization, we didn't have any pause functions in our protocol, in our main token contract. And we couldn't pause trading on OptionRoom tokens. And what happened is we had to act fast. So we just liquidated whatever assets we could to recover as much of liquidity and to devalue the tokens that the hacker had in their possession. So we had to act like within 30 minutes, all this happened. We did a team meeting. We created a warning on Telegram, on Twitter, so that users are aware of the situation so that no one can buy the Room token after the hack, because we created a snapshot right there. And then we recovered the liquidity because we could withdraw the team's liquidity, whatever liquidity we deposited on Uniswap and on PancakeSwap. But the problem was that we had a LP farming program, and there were a lot of people, a lot of users who deposited liquidity into our contracts that we can't tell them to withdraw within like 30 minutes or something, because we didn't really know when the hacker was going to sell the tokens. So the outcome was that we minimized the damage from $800,000 to $32,000.
Impressive.
Yes, and we managed to airdrop the tokens back to the people who held that snapshot. And currently, yeah, we talked to all the exchanges that were affected as well. We rectified that with one exchange left, which should be rectified soon. And we're currently back on track building the platform.
Not what you needed, but it's also good to know that you can cope with something like that, because real life happens, while you're out there doing stuff.
Yeah, well, when something like this happens, you have to take lead, you have to do something.
Yeah, no, very impressive.
Otherwise, our other option was just lay down and just let the project die.
You're not going to do that.
Yeah.
So what's it? This month you're going live, you're releasing the Oracle, and mainnet will be this year?
Mainnet will be this year. It all depends on how the feedback on the new market beta goes. And as for the Oracle, we're releasing it this quarter. It's going to be early this quarter, but it's going to be in Q4 2021.
Perfect. And if people want to find you, Marsel, what's the best place for them to make contact with you or find out more about the project?
You can go on Twitter or on Telegram. My Telegram handle is available publicly, and you can ask in the OptionRoom main chat on Telegram. They'll also direct you to me.
Brilliant. Well, I hope you have no more hacks in future. Not that you had the hack, but kind of scary. Well done. It's something like no project wants to hear, but it's amazing the speed that you coped with it. And you say to yourself, you had two choices. You fixed it or you let the project die. So exactly. Well done. Well done on that. Brilliant. Well, I wish you continue success. I look forward to hearing more about your project in the coming months.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.